back again with art and life and how to paint. For some of you, this may seem simple. For others, it may seem difficult. But I hope both beginners and advanced students, high school, adult, whomever, will stay with me. And I think no matter what your level of ability is, hopefully you'll learn some ideas and techniques that can be transferred over to your other art projects, particularly for Milton High School students. That would be really nice. Now last week, what I did was I talked about how to paint a crocus and how to put in a contrasting background. The crocus are purple and the background is yellow. Now today, what I'm going to do is show you the opposite. I did this one on my own. It's a simple little drawing of daffodils, and we're going to work with the background, and we're going to go contrast. So instead of having a yellow background, today we're going to put in a purple and blue background. Before we get into that though, I want to show you a little bit about how to draw a daffodil. A daffodil is more complicated than a crocus. A crocus is those simple spoon shapes, a cluster of spoons. But the daffodil has a cup shape, and then it has the surrounding petals. And as we've noted, it has 6 petals, and the cup or trumpet part is encasing 6 little antlers and so on for the fertilization of the plant. Where we're going to investigate this is to think of this shape as a cylinder. So we're going to do just a little bit of circular perspective. Now, here is, let's hold the daffodil up. This is, in essence, this is a cylinder. When we're looking at the cylinder, we can look at it frontally, like this, straight on, or we can look at it in profile from the side. So the way to think about this is say, all right, that's so complicated, I can't figure that out. No, calm down. If you think about it as a cylinder, I think it'll help you. So we're going to focus now on my drawing, and we'll see if we can figure this out. If we're going to draw this circle, this cylinder, this way, all we would be doing would be drawing a circle, like that, just a simple circle. And I'm using a pen so that hopefully it will show up better in the video. However, if we turn it this way, strange to say, it looks like a rectangle. Isn't that weird? If we're looking this straight on, I see a straight line across here, then I see a straight line here, and a straight line at the bottom. So looking at it eye level, right in the front, this way, we see a rectangle. Well, neither one of those look like the trumpet for a daffodil. So our characteristic way of drawing it is at an angle. Now, when I turn this at an angle, lo and behold, I see an elliptical shape. Now, I don't want to spend too much time today on an ellipse because that's a problem. But there's the ellipse. It looks like this, and this line, the top line, disappears off in space towards the horizon this way, and the bottom tips up that way, and the back is another elliptical curve. So that, we say, oh my gosh, that's a daffodil. Yeah, that's a daffodil. So now if we add the fringe, and this can be very confusing. I used to love to draw, I still love to draw exactly what I see. But if you're not that interested in it, you can see that there are little triangular shapes. So little triangles come out like this. All right, there are the triangles up at the top, going around, there are the triangles. And then the triangles over here go on that side of the ellipse. And guess what? It's looking more and more like a daffodil. Now, the daffodil is not a completely symmetrical circle like this. You'll notice that it tapers down. It's wider here and narrower there. So if we just take a little bite off of this and a little shave off of that, we are getting really pretty close to having our shape for our daffodil. So if we're looking inside here, we're going to see the little parts coming out inside. We're going to see some lines coming here, and you'll also see other things happening here. But I want to keep this really simple for on the beginner level. Now, there we go. Now, what are we going to do about the petals? Let's look at the back. Here's our 6 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice that they come to points sort of like a triangle, then they flare it out, and then they come back in. So a typical one will start here with a triangle, flaring out, and then kind of come back in. That is very much a typical daffodil shape. And there's 6 of them. So if we drew, let's pretend, I'm now drawing it this way, right, head on. We'll pretend here's our circle, and here's another petal, that's 3. Let's see, 1, 2, no, that's, oh dear, I should have drawn that over there. All right, didn't space these correctly. There's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when we look down in there, the little fertilizing parts are seen as dots, sort of. So, basic daffodil drawn head on. Now, supposing we want to turn the daffodil this way, all right, we're going to have this form over here. Here it is. There's our trumpet. All right, there it is in simple form. Okay, now we have to add our petals, but the petals this time are going to be foreshortened. Foreshortening is the hardest thing to draw. It's easy to draw my hand this way. It's very difficult to draw it like that. That is so difficult. So learning to draw things that are foreshortened is going to take time. And if you can't do it right straight off, don't worry about it. Do the best you can. When we're looking at this foreshortened, the petals in front are really flattening out, almost to lines. And then the ones in the back are kind of peeking out. I see them like this. And then there's the back end of the trumpet coming here and then turning down. So that is going to be our basic daffodil form here. There we go. That's the basic one from the side. This would be here's the back end coming down. Here is the daffodil seen from frontal daffodil. All right, straight on, and to the side. If you practice it, it'll get easier for you. Now, another interesting thing to note about the daffodil is that the leaves almost always curl. If you flatten it out, the daffodil leaf is just a simple line coming up to a point. But they curl. So isn't that fascinating? So how do you make a daffodil leaf that curls? The way to do it is you go up like this, and then you go back down like that. So if you practice that, come up, make a twist, turn around, and go back down. Now, it has some thickness, that's true. So if you give a little bit of thickness to it and you shade in this side and you shade in that side, and paint it differently because it does have thickness, that will begin to give you that curving shape. Now, all kinds of things can happen here. If you begin to do some shading, we'll shade inside here, maybe shade down here, draw some more lines over here. And then, there's some little turnovers of the leaves, like that. That's maybe some shading in the stem, shade about the back. And as you add shading and so on, the daffodil will come to life. The same thing here. What you could do with this one is add some shading, darkening in here in the center. I probably should have had this more wavy. More here, over here. Let's give this a little bit of a shade and so on. All right, and the stem coming down and the leaves and so on and so forth. Okay, so anyway, hopefully that will help you to understand how to draw the trumpet frontally, this way, and to the side. Now, I'm going to show you the painting that I did last week on my own. I did it from memory. I've painted daffodils so often, I can do it from memory. So here, let's examine. Here is one frontal, straight down, frontal, to the side, side, frontal, side, and again to the side. And you'll see here is one of those twisty leaves. You see it comes up, twists around. This one twists a little bit. Here's another twisty leaf over here. Came up, and I wanted in this one to have interleaving of the leaves. I want them to look like this, so there's more complexity to the design. All right, we're going to take up some watercolor issues here and see if we can put a background in. I have to do a little bit of cleaning here. So I'm going to paint upside down. I have to get my water over here. Nope. Paint's over here. So essentially what we're doing this time is reversing dark background with the light color. And I think you'll see it's pretty dramatic what's going to happen. I'm picking up my favorite brush. You want to be organized. When you do this, you want to make sure that the water source is not going to get tipped over. One of the great crises with watercolors is that you tip over the glass and spoil your watercolor. So I always like low glasses. I don't want a high glass of water because it's too easy just to go whoosh and tip it over. So something low, stable, off to one side. Another thing is, don't spill your coffee, tea, or juice over your watercolor. And in addition to that problem, if you have those liquids around, and I've done this, and every professional artist has done it, pretty soon you find yourself dipping into the coffee. No, you don't want to dip into the coffee. So we're going to start with two basic colors here, a violet and a very rich blue. I believe this blue is the Winsor Newton blue. So I'm making a patch of those colors over here to the side, keeping them separate to start. And I like to start lighter and go darker. Start light, go dark. So of these two colors, in value that is, so these two colors, the blue is, I think this is called a Winsor Newton blue or something like that, whatever. All right, I'm choosing a pointed brush that comes to a good point because these shapes that I'm going to be filling in, you will see, are very much pointy triangles. So you want a brush that matches the shape that you're painting in. Now I'm not sure if this is going to be the perfect brush. I think this brush is, and there's something on the end of it, making life even more difficult. This brush is too big for the job. So we're going to take a little bit of a break here while I look for a smaller brush. I think this one will work for me. It's a lower number, or it comes to a better point. So here we go. Yeah. Okay, so using the point, loading up your brush. Now, you will notice I am not getting terribly excited about whether I'm exactly in those shapes or not in the shapes. In fact, with watercolor, as we've mentioned before, it really helps to have some white showing. All right, so we are going to be adding blue paint here to the pattern. Hopefully Tom Pilla, our magical editor of these videos, will put in some delightful spring music as I paint these. I'm sure when he does the editing, Tom Pilla, head of Milton Public TV, Access TV, has been very kindly doing the editing of these videos, mainly because of the current situation, health situation. He has a bit more time to help me with this. The other person who's been very helpful with editing is Arlo Stote, who is a junior at Milton High School, and my husband, Robert Neville, has been helping me with the filming, mainly because we are here by ourselves in strict isolation, and he's been very kind to take off his time from philosophy and management of organizations to do the filming for me. So now look, there was a time in my life when I first started painting, I would have painted these like this, all right? I would have come in with exquisite care, never anything, out of line. But that's when I was younger and, had a different artistic goal for myself. Now I try to be a little more free, a little more casual. See, that one really went over the top there. But I think you can see already how vivid the color is. Okay, we're going to keep moving around here. Let's take this section here. All right, down. Yeah, we need more paint here. All right, now I'm going to show you another thing that watercolor can do, another technical thing that's very intriguing. You notice I'm just applying one color here, blue, and that's it, blue. But if we prefer and want to add some violet, we could add some violet while it's wet. So let's get a good big wet patch going. Let's see, how about down here? Okay, so I'm putting the blue on with a lot of water. Okay, there's a big patch. Now, right now I'm going to dip into the violet and tinge it. I can even tinge this one over here. So I'm adding the violet. It's basically just exactly what we did with the crocus. Remember the crocus? They were pale blue, and then we began adding wet paint, another color, into the blue. That was so. It's sort of just the reverse of what we did with the crocus. All right. And you may not notice it, but I'll point it out to you, that as I paint here, the way I'm painting, I define the outline first. I should point that out. You define the outline, and then you fit in. So watch here. We're going to go around this shape. Okay, get the paint on your brush. Define that edge, all right? And then pull away. Now, and same thing here. Edge, edge, fill in. All right, edge, 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 fill in. Okay, that's coming along pretty nicely. Okay, so we've got a bit more time here on this lesson, so let's continue along here. How does an artist, a skilled artist, stay within the lines or stay within the shapes. You watch the point of the brush. Always keep your eye right on the point. If you want to paint, if I want to paint this flower right here and outline it, I keep my eye on the edge of the brush, the point there. The point, I should say, not the edge, the point. And then, once you define that edge, let's do another one. We're going to take this edge, okay? Get the paint. Watch the point of the brush and fill away, pull away. Now here's a beginner mistake. I call it making your object look electrified. What most beginners tend to do is they're afraid to overlap, so they leave a big gap of white, like this, around your object, or whatever you're painting. And I say, it looks like it's been electrified, as if, the electric current was going through it. It's better to overlap your object than it is to have that sense that it's being, electrified or something, or like, what is that white gap? There, see that white gap? We don't want a white gap. We want to go right up to it. And then, now here's another problem. This is dried and this is wet. So what's going to happen is that's going to be a sharp line. Well, I don't really want a sharp line there. So how do I deal with that? Get your brush, less paint on it, and you can kind of smoosh it around. And if I had a handy napkin, I could blot that a little bit. So by kind of gently going over that, we can try to, here's another thing. We don't want this. See this irregular line in there? We don't want that. So try to do just a little bit of smushing with your brush. The better your paper, the less of that you're going to have. But don't worry if the background is not absolutely flat, and has variations in it. That's what watercolor does. If you want it to be pure, you should be using oil paint, or those crayons, those wonderful crayons I talked about, or a pastel. Watercolor is going to give you that kind of irregular background. Now some master painters, some master watercolors, by going over and over the paint surface many times, can eliminate that that sense of the background being kind of blotchy or irregular. But most of us doing watercolor are too much, we want a fresher look. We don't want it to quite so difficult, quite so smooth, I should say. All right, so we're going to keep going here. Probably eventually what I'm going to end up doing is, after this video is over, I'll come back, I imagine, with another layer. Let me just show you what another layer would look like. So supposing we've got just a bit more time here, let's dive into the purple and say, okay, we're going to make this darker. We're going to give it a whole nother layer right over the top. I went over the green, not a problem. We're not going to worry about that. So this additional layer is going to make the paint darker and more interesting. And then there is one last trick. When the whole thing is done, probably I will come into the green leaves with a little bit of purple and also the violet. And I may also, let me demonstrate up here, I'm almost positive I'm going to do this. Let's take the center of this flower. If I go into a little bit of, quite a bit of water, a little bit of violet, and kind of go around. I actually really don't like that, and I regret it. That was a mistake. If I had my paper, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blot it. Yes, that was a mistake, okay? If it's a mistake, don't worry about it. Just continue on. So I think that's it for today. We're going to continue with circular perspective. We're going to do lighthouses and other things. We're going to get away from the flowers a little bit here and go into some circular perspective in the future. and then on to some linear perspective, a little bit of oil painting, a little bit of acrylic. So anyway, hope you stay well, stay healthy, and stay creative. So see you again on Art and Life with Beth Neville on Milton Access TV. Have a great day.